France's European Affairs Minister Clement Beaune warned the British government to play no games with only a few days remaining to conclude the Brexit negotiations with a deal. France has emerged as one of the most outspoken voices in the Brexit negotiations as Emmanuel Macron pledged to protect the rights of his fishermen to access British waters after December 31. European Affairs Minister Clement Beaune reiterated his government's commitment to the fishing community as he warned no deal will come out of the talks if concessions are not made on fishing. Mr. Beaune told the Andrew Marr Show the UK and the European Union now have, he said, "You cannot ask us to adjust to the Brexit choice on fisheries, so let's try to find a solution which respects both interests. I think it's possible, but we have a few days to reach it." As BBC host Andrew Marr pointed out, no deal would leave French fishermen with no access to British waters. Mr. Beaune said, "Yes, of course, but you cannot isolate one sector. We do know that if there is no deal there would be no access, legally, to British waters for our fishermen. We do know, and it's also why we would like a deal. But you also have to look at the bigger picture. If there is no deal, there is no access to the EU market for the UK, which I don't think it's in the UK's interests." He continued, "So let's be balanced, let's be clear, not play tactics or games. We have a common interest in striking a deal. It is in the EU and the UK's interest, more in the UK's interest I am afraid, to strike a deal." Prime Minister Boris Johnson 2 weeks ago had suggested negotiations with Brussels were over as the bloc failed to make concessions on key issues such as fisheries or governance. Talks between UK negotiator Lord Frost and his EU counterpart Michel Barnier however resumed the following week, with Mr. Barnier staying put in London to facilitate further negotiations. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen insisted good progress is being made in the new round of talks but insisted key issues still need to be resolved. Mrs. von der Leyen said, "We're making good progress, but there are two critical issues, level playing field and the fisheries, where we would like to see more progress." Sources close to the UK negotiators have suggested little movement has been made on the totemic issue of fishing. Speaking to Express.co.uk, they said, "Difficult issues remain difficult." The Prime Minister has remained adamant the UK will regain full access of British waters and limit access to EU vessels at the end of the Brexit transition period. Senior Brexit envoy to the European Parliament Christoph Hansen however insisted there is still room to maneuver to ensure there is a fair deal. Mr. Hansen said, "I believe there is room to maneuver to get a good agreement that is as fair as possible."